Chag Sameach. I think Karen and Alan are helping to hand out a sheet, which is there for, to look at, but you don't have to look at it. You can take it home too. For me, the most effective and evocative rituals of the Seder are when we create sensory experiences. When what we do is designed to connect us with the Passover story. I was thinking of what would be the strongest example, or maybe the most tactile example, or sensory example. Huh? Right. So dipping into the wine and taking out some of the wine for the plagues. Are there any other examples where you feel like it's not only sensory, but also like it transports you back in time? Hillel sandwich. The taste? Is it the taste?
I just remember the Seder leader when I was a kid, like asking us to make the sandwich and reciting the thing about Hillel.
Mm-hmm.
Matzah's a time machine.
Matzah is a time machine. I like that.
Salt water.
So think salt water. It reminds you of what?
But it brings those tears.
It brings the tears. The salt water brings the tears. Parsley. What does parsley bring? The smell of Pesach. The smell of rebirth. What about, so I was thinking of, for me, maror. So I always pick the bitterest of the bitter herbs that are on the table, like the strongest option. Even if it's a little painful, like it totally clears my sinuses. I kind of feel like, woo, like I guess it's Passover because that was really intense. And I do feel some bitterness. I don't know if it's part of the bitterness of slavery. I can't say. But I do feel some real bitterness, and I do feel connected to the past. And I wouldn't presume it's the same, or it's even anywhere near what it feels like to be a slave. But I do feel like I tap into some of that. Does anyone else have something that really sort of gets you there? Maybe it happened last night. Maybe you're going to try to make it happen tonight. That really makes it Pesach. You could think about it. Another one. The chanting. So it's the auditory experience of hearing the chanting. The melody. The melodies. Yeah, the prayers. Okay. We'll keep thinking about it because that's what we're talking about today. As I said, my favorite experiences are these sensory experiences. And because it allows us to transport ourselves back in time, it lets me do that. So if you want to take a look, I'm going to read it. So it's not an assignment. Take a look at the sheet if you can see one. This is from our Haggadah, from the Magid section. One of the great obligations of Pesach is to imagine ourselves as if each of us were individually and actually, if each of us went out of Egypt. So this first text is we're telling the story of Egypt, and this is how we're supposed to tell the story. It's not supposed to be something that happened to someone else. It's supposed to be famously something that happened to us individually, for real. So in each and every generation, a person is obligated to see themselves as if they left Egypt. And then we have the quote from Exodus 13, and you shall explain to your child on that day, for the sake of this did the Lord do this for me in my going out of Egypt. Not only our ancestors, so if we look in the Hebrew side, Lo et avotenu bilvad ga'al hakadosh baruch hu, ela af otanu ga'al imanu. So God didn't just redeem our ancestors, but also redeemed us together with them. So we're supposed to be going back in time to be part of them. And the Seder is designed for us to succeed at this. It's designed for this exact experience, that we should experience the redemption ourselves, that we should feel that we were there too. This is an obligation that is not just theoretical. it's not just vague and metaphorical or spiritual. We should get as close to being there as we actually can. And I think of it like we're almost trying to trick ourselves. We're trying to taste the right thing, smell the right thing, do the right thing, so we can believe we can get back there as closely as possible. And so I also think of it like maybe it could be, was it matzah? You said matzah magic, matzah time machine. So it's also like maybe the Seder as virtual reality. So just like that technology works with our senses to create an experience, maybe the Seder could also be doing that too. So in case you needed a reminder of the senses, there's a graphic, but we'll just go through and if you want to brainstorm which experiences of the Seder connect with which one. So we already had hearing. So we sing, we speak. We also hear others sing and speak the Haggadah and the songs and the Hallel. Sight. So I think we had the pointing. Did someone say the pointing? So for sight, we see and show the Rabban Gamliel's three things, right? Pesach, Matzah, Umaror. We point and then we explain. Any other seeing things? Any other examples where we're seeing something? Elijah's cup. Other symbols on the table for sure. The afikomen. So that's a great one because we're seeing it and then we're not seeing it because we hide it and then we see it again. So there's Charoset. What's charoset about? What's the sense?
It's supposed to be like the mortar for the bricks, and it's, physically there in front of you, and then later you eat it. But
Right. So the charoset, which is reminding us of the mortar from the bricks, also imagining that we were slaves, reminding us that we were slaves. I think that might be a double. That might be, or more than two. It might be taste, and also we see it, and also we feel it. We might feel the mortar. Okay, what about more? Is there anything else that's touch? Hand washing. What does hand washing feel connected to? Water. Rejuvenating water. Any other? I like that one. I hadn't thought of that one. And their touch. So we also dip into the salt water. So dipping in a special way. And we're supposed to remember our freedom in the way that we do that. And then this is an interesting one. So smell, which is the last one. I mean, a taste is connected to smell. But smell is so tied into memory. So are there particular smells that are connected to the Seder? The food, dill. So like brisket and matzo ball soup, those kind of smells, right? I don't know if they had brisket and matzo ball soup in Egypt, but maybe. They left because they needed to find it in the promised land of brisket. Yeah. So maybe the parsley, the herbs, maybe the maror. That's quite an experience. We use all our senses to have this real experience of going out of Egypt. So I also want to contrast this individual experience, this sensory experience in our bodies, with reminding us that the rest of the Haggadah, most of the rest of the liturgy is in the plural. God redeemed our ancestors. God redeemed us. If we have to do this, this is what the Israelites did. But this obligation, the top of the page, from this Bechol Dor Vador, that in each generation we have to fulfill this individual obligation. And this is on the bottom. On the bottom of the page, Rabbi Yom Tov ben Avraham Yishbili, or known as the Ritba, which he was a teacher in the 13th and 14th century. He teaches every single individual must see and look at themselves as though they had been a slave in Egypt and as though they went forth to freedom. So that's another interpretation that's focusing on the individual, single individual. Then wanted to also add, this isn't on the sheet, Isaac Abravanel, who's from the 15th century, adds another purpose to this individual experience that's so important. Another reason why we do that he teaches that we should have our own personal experience so that we can more effectively transfer the memory from us. Well, I'll say starting with the past. So starting with generations before us, and then bechol dor vador, in each generation, we have to transfer that memory. So he says we have to transfer the memory from parent to child. And I would say all the generations. We were once the children who needed someone to care enough to transport that memory or transfer that memory to us. So going generation to generation is about taking on the memories and the experience and giving it over to the next generation. So I was thinking about if you want to compare these two approaches to teaching children, and we could even ask the children in the room which one they might be most interested in. So I'll ask two questions, and which one is more interesting? We'll see if any of them are. I don't think they're probably not listening. Okay, so here, Josie, can I test this with you? I don't want to embarrass you. No, never mind. Okay. Imagine a child, not you. Don't worry, it's not you. This is the story of what happened to our ancestors a long time ago. I think if you tell that story really well, it can be good. But I think this one's better. This is what happened to me. And then tell the story. So I can understand why that framing for the Seder works better to pass the knowledge to the next generation because it's really personal. Everyone is more interested in a first-person story. So we make the Seder, we make the Exodus into a first-person story. So it's more important and relatable and memorable. So think of the wicked child. I generally think all the children I was saying this last night at our Seder, all the children really get underestimated. So I have a lot to say about we should give more credit to all the children, but just for the sake of this argument, the wicked child, as a cautionary tale, if you do this wrong, if you don't pass on individually in that personal way, and it doesn't go bechol dor vador, it doesn't go generation to generation. So maybe the wicked child is a child whose parents didn't quite get this and didn't do it effectively because he doesn't get the message. So remember the wicked child. He asks, "Ma ha'avodah hazot lachem? Lachem velo lo." So he says, "What do you mean by this?" And the Haggadah's framing and the commentary, the rabbinic framing, says, you and not us. The way he's encountering the tradition is he's not including himself. And so the parent, how is the parent supposed to respond to the wicked child?
Set his teeth on it.
Okay.
That's my favorite.
Did you try that last night?
Setting a child, I don't even know what it means to set his teeth on edge.
Do we want to know? It sounds good.
I mean, it sounds like
Sounds fun.
evocative or something. I don't know.
Set a child's teeth, for those who are listening. You don't want to miss Chazan Fradkin's commentary. To set a child's teeth on edge is what you're supposed to do in response to the wicked child. But what do you say to him? Okay. So you say to the wicked child, this is what God did for me. And what kind of a story is that? It's personal. It's first person. So if you're a parent who maybe you tried, but it didn't quite take, and you have a wicked child, and he doesn't quite get it, he doesn't feel that personal connection, so something went wrong, the answer or the next step of what we're supposed to do is we're supposed to try to get it right. We're supposed to try again. So we're supposed to say, you double down. This is what the Lord did for me when I came out of Egypt. So you get another chance. All of these sensory-based rituals, and there's a lot more to say about this, and I really hope that I put it on a paper just partly so that if you want to take it and know the parts of the Haggadah that we're talking about today, and the graphic, the colors, that you can talk more about it tonight. But this storytelling perspective in the first person helps us to experience the Exodus really ourselves And it's not only for us to have that real experience, but also to pass it on to the next generation. So I just want to close. If you turn the page, this is the other part of the Haggadah when we say Bechol Dor Vador, in each and every generation. So this is the other one. In each and every generation, people rise up to destroy us. But the Holy One saves us from their hands. Shebechol Dor Vador. I don't think we sang this last night. I can't remember. Shebechol Dor Vador. You know this one. Omdim aleinu lechalotenu vehakadosh baruch hu matzilenu miadam. In every generation, new enemies rise up against us. And we all know that some of these enemies attacked us recently this past October, and we're still waiting for our hostages to return. And our enemies also attacked us in a different way just a few days ago. And we tell this story of our exodus with such detail and so intentionally and thoughtfully and with such devotion, so that what has been happening for thousands of years and is still happening today, that we can get through it. So the way we tell the story is also how we respond to our enemies attacking us in every generation. The two texts about the generations and Bechol Dor Vador I see them as in conversation with each other. We've gotten through, at least in part, by how we tell our stories. And so at the Seder, we try to be as authentic as we can, and we have another chance to do that tonight, and especially in the way that we tell our stories to our children. And I hope that our rituals can help us feel that connection and tap into our hope and belief that we will endure as we always have. Chag Sameach. Baruch Tiyeh.